Hello everyone, I'm Sean.
This is Hoon.
And we are the Courageour Frights, back once again for another movie review.
Yes.
Actually, many movie reviews.
Yeah, many movie reviews of a whole series, actually.
Yes. So this time we're going to be tackling the Spanish horror franchise Wreck.
Yes.
And so that began in 2007 with the first film, cleverly titled Wreck.
Wreck.
Short for record,
yes.
In case you didn't know. It is a 2007 found footage horror film. We've been covering a lot of found footage stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes we decide to do reviews, and sometimes we forget.
Yeah, because there was that's mostly what happened.
We watched a whole bunch of found footage, and then didn't do reviews of any of them.
Lake Mungo or whatever the other one is,
or the entire
last broadcast
Paranormal Activity.
Yeah,
franchise.
Paranormal Activity.
We did do like VHS and some other stuff,
yeah,
But anyway, so yeah, we're going to cover this. This is a franchise that I have known about for a long time.
Yeah, I have never seen it, and this is the first time I saw it.
Yeah, this is the first time you've seen it. I've seen Wreck 1 and 2 probably shortly after they came out. So these were both directed... Well, the first one was directed by Jaume Balaguero and Paco Plaza. So, if I butcher the names, sorry, I don't actually speak Spanish, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Not yet, anyway. So, they're kind of... It's one of those situations where you get two directors doing a thing.
Yeah.
It's sort of like how John Wick had this, where John Wick had two directors in the first film. And then one left to do other projects, and then the other guy stayed behind. So, in that case, Chad Stahelski stayed behind. This case, you have Balaguero and Plaza doing... the first Wreck and the second Wreck.
Which makes sense because the way that these two movies are.
Yeah, these two go together, and we'll talk about that when we do the reviews. And then the third film was directed by one of those guys, and the fourth film was directed by a different guy. The other guy.
Yeah, so it's like one director did one film and one director did the other. I don't know if that was like done intentionally or if they did that because it was like, I want to do something else.
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact backstory. I was going to watch all the bonus features. I have like the Blu-ray collection that we were watching the film.
Yeah, like the Shot Factory version of it.
Yeah, I was going to do that, and then I didn't. So, so here we are. So, according to the Wikipedia synopsis, the film stars Manuela Velasco as a reporter who, with her cameraman, accompany a group of firefighters on an emergency call to an apartment building to discover an infection spreading inside, with the building being sealed up and all occupants ordered to follow a strict quarantine.
Yes.
So yeah, that's the basic premise. Yeah, it starts out with her and the camera guy. They're from a local station. This is in Barcelona.
Yeah, and they're talking about like the firefighters, just how they do their job and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like she has like a variety show like program where they just cover like a different topic each day. So she's over there with the firefighters, just kind of recording stuff at the firehouse, and then they get a call. So, of course, they go with the firefighters to see what's going on. It's like a perfect opportunity for this news crew or whatever to go along.
Yeah.
And they get there, and it's this apartment complex that is almost as soon as they get inside, the place gets quarantined.
Yeah, 'cause they're like, oh, we go up to this one room because someone's screaming.
Yeah. And it's like this old lady, and she's in there, and she just like attacks them.
Yeah.
When they go in, and it turns out that it's like a zombie virus.
Yeah.
Or it's a zombie virus.
Yeah,
but
zombie virus.
Essentially like a rabies type thing or something. But the Spanish version has an interesting twist.
Yeah.
Where it actually has to do with demonic possession as well.
Yeah, because it has like. They talk about it throughout the whole series, but it's like the one host or whatever kind of has, like, controls all the other zombies, basically.
Yeah. There's this woman from Portugal or something that's like Patient Zero. And she's essentially somebody who was, like, demonically possessed, and then she can transfer it to different people.
Yeah.
They kind of change what this is and how it works, like, throughout the series.
Yeah, the fourth one has definitely changed to where it's like, okay, this... Yeah. It's like totally... I don't even think they even have the demonic possession part of it.
The fourth one's just like the typical science fiction zombie thing. But the first one has the demonic possession angle.
Yeah.
They kind of like work their way up they end up going up this upstairs and then back down again several times. Yeah. But over time, they end up with, there's like a police officer ends up joining them. Like, he came in shortly after they got there.
Yeah, because it was like a police officer plus the fire department.
The fireman.
I think they just call like just first responders, or basically like just there.
Yeah, so there's the fireman that they came in with, and then there's a cop that shows up.
Yeah.
But then shortly after they get there, like they get there right before the secret, whatever the special government organization is.
Yeah, the CDC.
CDC, like its Spanish equivalent or whatever, comes in and closes down the building, and they lock it down with plastic wrap.
Plastic wrap, and they just like seal it up that way.
And then, so we're not going to do like blow by blow descriptions because we've got 6 movies to get through. But this one is, so they go through the whole apartment. They eventually end up working their way up to the roof.
Yeah.
Or to the top floor. And somewhere up in the top floor, there is a scientist who is also a priest or something.
Yeah, he's like from the Vatican or something.
Yeah, and he has like a lab up there. And they get up there and they find out that that's where the like patient 0 is being kept.
Yeah, because they do a pretty good scene where in the first one specifically, it has like the monster, I guess you can say, the Portuguese girl is like almost like a very slender. It's like it looks really creepy.
It's a really cool design. I think it's the way they shoot it, because I've seen pictures of it, of the actual prop, and it doesn't look all that great.
Yeah.
But then the way it's filmed is like masterfully done.
Yeah.
Like, it's super creepy.
Because it has a mixture of parts of it is I think the power, like they have the lights on sometimes, and it's like very in shadow.
Yeah.
And then also they have like eventually get to the night vision or whatever on the camera or whatever, and then it has that part of it.
Yeah. And this, like any other found footage film, especially from that day, there's always like a gimmick they're trying to do.
Yeah.
This one just does the night vision thing. Doesn't really do too many gimmicks.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a straight found footage
zombie movie, yeah, pretty much.
With like this little cool religious demonic possession like twist towards the end. And so that's like the first movie.
Yeah, and then the second movie is literally a direct sequel to that one. Like it starts at the very end of the first movie.
Yeah, it picks up immediately after the first movie ends.
Yeah.
And that one you follow like a SWAT team.
Yeah, because they're like from the CDC. They're going in there to like... They don't tell you exactly why they're going in there first. But when they get to the very top room, they're like, oh, I'm from the Vatican. And we're trying to get blood from patient 0, pretty much. So we can make like a vaccine to actually protect against this.
Right. So the Wikipedia synopsis for this one is the story takes place immediately after the events of the first film. Follows a team of soldiers assigned to protect a scientist supposedly sent to investigate the cause of the outbreak, but who may already know more about than he claims. So they're doing a real good job on these Wikipedia synopsis of not telling you anything.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
But yeah, the scientist turns out to be like a Vatican priest.
Yeah.
And he needs the blood, like we said, to try to make a vaccine.
Yeah.
Actually, I probably should switch out the poster here, because I have... There we go.
Oh, there you go.
There's the movie we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's Fear Revisited.
There you go.
So, anyway, it's a terrifying kick-ass horror film, says whoever reviewed that.
Yes. Says Courageour Frights.
Says Courageour Frights.
Yes.
It's a terrifying kick-ass horror film. Which is true. That is very true. This, to me, is the Aliens to Alien.
Yeah.
Debate. Like, some days I'll like Rec better, some days I'll like Rec 2
yeah, because they're very close. The Rec and Rec 2 are very close to each other.
Yeah, this one has the soldiers, it's got more action.
I kind of wonder, I'm wondering if this movie was made did they film this right after Rec 1?
It came out 2 years later.
Okay.
So, it probably wasn't back-to-back, but probably close.
Yeah.
This movie, all these movies are very fast-paced. They're all like an hour and a half max.
Yeah, because it's an 85-minute movie, so...
Yeah, they're pretty short. They're very... they're paced well, the acting's good.
Yeah.
The horror is good.
The monsters are pretty decent.
Yeah. This one also has a little bit of a subplot of a bunch of like teenagers that sneak in and like screw things up.
They're like the nuisance streamers that come in.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're like, at the first scene of them is they have like a sex doll and they're trying to like launch it with rockets or something. I don't know what, those like bottle rockets or something. It was like so stupid.
Yeah.
And they almost get shot. And they actually shoot the one guy in the head.
Yeah, there's a part where the zombie's like attacking a guy and they take the gun and they're trying to shoot the zombie and they kill the person instead.
And the zombie is like,
what? The zombie's even surprised.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, they make their way up to the top, and then they find the reporter from the first movie is still alive up there.
They're like, why are you up here?
Yeah, she got dragged off by the patient zero at the end of the first film.
Yeah.
And then we find out later that she was like infected.
Yeah, because I guess the way it shows the monster, I guess the Portuguese girl.
Yeah.
She like threw up like this parasite or something.
It's like a big worm.
Yeah, thing. I don't know what it is. Like something that went into the reporter's body or whatever.
Yeah, kind of looks like the weird larval worm thing that's in like that one Friday 13th movie.
Yeah, like something like that.
It's like part 9 or whatever.
I think 4 kind of explains why they do that, but you kind of get a hint of the reason why. It's because it's trying to like protect itself by going to like a newer host that might be better suited or something like that. So it's like along that type of story arc, I guess.
Right. So like that movie basically ends with everybody kind of screwed again.
Yeah, because it has a kind of interesting thing. Cause this one had more of the religious angle to it, I would imagine. Because the priest has to do like a ritual to make sure it's real blood or whatever, and he screws it up because he does the ritual right next to the other vial, and the thing catches on fire because it's like he's doing like some sort of, I don't know, like ritual or something to make sure it's right, and then it catches on fire, and then they lose the sample.
Yeah.
But there's another sample in the roof area or like the attic or whatever. But it does have, it has other parts where it's like it plays a lot with light, I guess, because the only way to get into the room that the monster's in, it has to be like totally dark or something like that. That's like the very end.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit different. It has a lot more of the religious stuff to it.
Yeah, it's the religious stuff. That's similar to almost some stuff that would show up in like the Paranormal Activity movies and stuff.
Or what's that one movie? It's the one with Lights Out?
Lights Out, yeah.
It has like, almost like that type of thing, where the monster doesn't show up unless the lights are off.
Yeah, it's similar to that.
Because I guess the way they say it is she's like almost in like a spirit realm or something. I don't know what type.
I don't know how lives in darkness or something.
Yeah.
They do have a religious angle to the first 2 movies that's kind of interesting. It's different. It makes it somewhat unique.
Yeah, for sure.
Compared to a typical zombie.
Yeah, it's a typical rage zombie thing.
Yeah. And the second film does do the gimmick, does a couple new gimmicks. One is the night thing we just talked about, where it has to be lights out. 2 is the fact that every character in the SWAT team, the soldier team, or whatever, has their own camera. And it tends to like jump perspectives from like one person to the next person,
Yeah, and then eventually, when the nuisance streamers come up, then it switches to that camera too. So it's like all those cameras.
Yeah, so they have all the different cameras. I feel like the one thing with Rec 2, though, is I feel like they did everything that they thought they could possibly do.
Yeah,
with
I'm
found
pretty sure.
footage.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And then that's why we get the next film.
Yeah.
Which seems to be much more of a controversial film.
Yeah. I think a lot of people either hate it or like it.
Yeah, so this is Rec 3 Genesis, which is directed by Paco Plaza, so just one of the 2 guys.
Yeah.
And this pretty much throws out the found footage format. It's found footage for like 2 minutes at the beginning.
Yeah, because it's like at a wedding or whatever. Because the one lady's like the main character's wedding is going on.
Yeah.
So that's where all the found footage part of it is. And then after like they get to the reception at the end or whatever, he's like, "Why do you have the camera? Just throw it out," or he breaks it or something, and it's like, and I like it.
It's almost like it's almost like the director was saying, "I'm sick of doing found footage" or something like that.
Yeah. Which actually I think a lot of people that do found footage movies like all the time, they always like, I don't like doing this anymore.
A lot of times people do it because it's cheap and it's a way to start.
And it's easy. Or not really easy, but
it's not easy, but I don't know, it's a way to do things cheaply.
Yeah.
But you can always have interesting ideas in found footage.
Which there is a lot of variety to found footage, which is actually I thought it was actually surprising. That's one thing I was surprised since we've been watching found footage movies. So, but
yeah, it's a subgenre of horror that usually gets a bad rap, but it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's surprisingly how much they can do with found footage. It is pretty surprising.
Yeah, so Rec 3 basically decides not to do that.
Yeah.
So here's the synopsis for that. Rec 3 Genesis follows two newlyweds, played by Diego Martin and Leticia Dolera, who struggle to reunite with each other after the viral zombie outbreak ruins their wedding reception and infects their families.
Yes.
So basic idea, as it says, there's a husband and a wife, and they get separated.
Yeah.
A zombie outbreak happens at the wedding. Pretty much everybody gets infected, and then they're trying to reunite pretty much the whole movie.
And the one big difference between this movie, this one's more comedic.
This one's very comedic.
For sure.
It's kind of a dark comedy.
Yeah, it's almost like a grindhouse, because this is more, I would say, more bloody than the other ones.
Yeah, this one's very much influenced by Evil Dead.
Yeah,
I think,
that's
more
true.
than anything.
And you can kind of see the poster, how she has like a chainsaw and stuff like that. So that's the bride there. So
they're definitely trying to do like an Ash thing.
Yeah, and it's more, I would say, more stylistic for sure. Mm-hmm. Because it's a lot different.
Yeah. This is like your Lollipop Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, pretty much.
Old Wreck franchise. But it has more humor in it. The zombie, it's not so tied to the first two movies, but it is because the outbreak happens because the first movie, we didn't say this, but the reason why it spreads rapidly is because one person's dog got infected.
Yeah.
And then the dog went to the vet. And that's how the CDC or whatever it is discovers that this is a thing, because the dog went crazy and attacked all the other animals at the vet's office. And the girl got bit by the dog or infected by the dog or something. So some people in the apartment are already infected when they get there.
Yeah.
So that's how it spreads so rapidly. Here, one of the people in the wedding party works at the veterinary clinic.
Yeah, he got bit by the dog.
Yeah, so he's infected. And that's how it happens.
Yeah.
So it is connected to the original film because it's a continuation of the same outbreak.
And it also continues the religious part of this, because like the priest is there because they're at a wedding. Mm-hmm. Like there's parts where if you do like a scripture or something, it like basically stuns the zombies and they just kind of like stand there. Or like there's parts where like they look in the mirror, and if you see the guests, you can actually see like like that weird Portuguese girl, whatever's like the demon in the mirror. So it's like, oh, that's not normal,
right? Yeah, this one, like I said, a lot of people hate this movie. I don't.
Yeah, I actually do enjoy this one.
I think it was a lot of fun.
I think it's different enough from the other ones that it's like, okay, this is a fun movie to have.
The humor, I think the humor works for this. It's not so over the top that it just turns into an outball, like screwball comedy.
Yeah.
It's still grounded to it. It's like Evil Dead. Like I'm saying, it's like Evil Dead 2 or something. Like it's grounded still enough. It doesn't go into Army of Darkness levels of comedy. It's no point.
Not Looney Tunes.
It's not a Three Stooges Looney Tunes film. Yeah. It does have some crazy, goofy stuff. She gets a chainsaw that she finds in a log in a sewer. Or a storm drain or something.
And the main guy is literally wearing armor. He's like
a knighted the main guy puts on a suit of armor, which is actually something I've always wanted to see in a zombie film.
He's like, the armor is there to protect me from getting bit, which actually is a good idea.
Yeah. Actually, medieval, like a knight versus zombies would be interesting. Yeah. Because zombies would have a difficult time actually hurting a person in armor.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. They do the religious angle still. Like, that's still part of it.
Because the very end of this, the guy he goes on the PA system and just reads scripture, and that's kind of how you kind of get out of it.
Yeah. Which, it works for everybody except for one that has a hearing aid.
He has a hearing aid. He can't hear it. So he can't hear it anyways.
Doesn't affect him. But yeah, and it's got kind of a real dark twist ending.
Yeah, for sure.
Considering how, like, lighthearted the film is, relatively.
The dark comedy at the very end.
It just gets dark at the end.
Yeah.
But the characters are very likable in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think all the characters in these movies are likable.
Yeah.
But, and that kind of makes the ending even more poignant. But it's like, in a way, it's not as comedic as Shaun of the Dead, but it reminds me of Shaun of the Dead in the sense that Shaun of the Dead has a very serious ending.
Yeah.
To what was previously just a comedy.
Yeah.
So, like, that's kind of this. And this also has my favorite character in zombie history, John Sponge.
Yeah. They didn't want to use the... Actually, I think they have a guy there. There's like a guy that does it.
There's literally like a copyright lawyer just at
weddings.
At weddings, gathering stuff so they can sue the guests or something.
Yeah, it's like they're using Warner Brothers music or whatever. It's like Zaslav is there.
Pretty much. But then there's a guy there that's dressed like SpongeBob.
Yeah.
But he's not SpongeBob, he's John Sponge.
Yeah. And he just wears the suit the whole time. For some reason or no reason at all. I guess he did say he's naked under there because it gets so hot.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to take it off.
That was
like
pretty
in the kid's costume.
I think they should have had, when he gets attacked,
they
should have had them try to bite him and they can't because he can't get through the suit. But it's not nearly as bad as people think it is.
Like, we were looking at some Rotten Tomatoes scores before this, and it's like, it's not as bad as people say it is. Because people are saying it's like the worst movie ever made or whatever. It's like, it's not.
That's a wild exaggeration.
Yeah, it's like, that's not true.
It's not true at all. So, anyway, that one is very different from the first two, but still enjoyable.
Yeah. And
then that takes us to Rec 4.
Rec 4.
Apocalypse.
Yes.
Which is the final film of the Spanish ones.
Yeah. And
that one is directed by the other guy, Balaguero.
Yes.
Who didn't do Rec 3, and I don't know what he was doing, but he left the project in the meantime, and then he came back for the fourth film. And it has the return of Manuela Velasco, who plays Angela, the reporter.
Yeah.
She comes back, and this one's on a boat.
Yeah.
And it's also not found footage.
Yeah, I don't think they did the found footage at all on this one. I think it literally just went right into just normal movie.
Yeah, they're done with the found footage by this point. This one's more of like a straight zombie action film.
Yeah, which I would argue, like, a lot of people say the third one's I would say this is probably the weakest out of all of them, but...
Yeah, it does have... I still like it.
Yeah, I don't think, like I say, when I say it's the weakest, I don't say it's bad.
I don't think any of these movies are bad.
Yeah, it's just the weakest out of all of them.
Yeah, well, at least the Spanish ones are bad.
Yeah.
I don't think any of these ones are particularly bad.
Yeah.
It's just this one I also agree is the weakest, but I could see... The way I bounce between 1 and 2 as being the best, I could see 3 and 4 kind of like teetering, in my opinion, depending on my mood. 4 does have a problem in the sense that they're on this boat, and I guess they're being quarantined on the boat.
Yeah.
The people are studying the virus. But they virtually completely drop the religious angle.
Yeah, because this one doesn't talk about the religious part at all.
Yeah.
You're thinking, like, it being at this boat, it'd probably... If there was a religious thing, there should have been a boat that was, like, commissioned by the Vatican or something.
Yeah.
Just playing, like, I don't know, hymnals, like, all day long. Then you'd be fine.
Yeah. That one, I wonder if it got influenced by the quarantine films.
Yeah, probably did.
And then they decided to just go with a... Because by this point, Quarantine and Quarantine 2 were done.
Yeah.
So, like, even... I think Rec 3 is even after Quarantine 2. So, because Quarantine 2 came out in 2011. And Rec 3 was like 2012.
Oh, okay.
And then this is 2014. So this is actually the last film in the entire franchise.
Yeah.
Not just the Spanish side of things. But, so I wonder if the Quarantine films influenced it and they just decided to go with like a straight rage virus.
Yeah, it was like a rage virus monster, or like zombie movie.
Yeah, they tend to make the virus similar to... It's like a rage virus similar to 28 Days Later or like the Crazies or something. And this one, like I said, is on the boat. They get her on board. She is initially infected by the thing, but it turns out before they got on the boat, I guess she transferred the parasite to another person.
Yeah, which is the other main character that's there.
Yeah, that's on the boat with them.
Yeah.
And then they release... Somehow, they have a whole bunch of monkeys on board the ship.
Yeah.
Which is really stupid.
Because the way the boat works is the boat apparently has, like, power issues or something.
So the way the boat works is it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't. So, like, every, like... Because even the like the skipper or the captain's like, it's my last voyage. It's like
2 days from retirement.
Yeah. But the power goes out, and then I think the one person that has the parasite comes and like breaks out a monkey or something.
Yeah, there's infected monkeys all over the ship.
Yeah, even though it's like, how did you even get into the place? But I don't know.
No. So the infected monkeys get out and they attack like the cook.
Yeah, the cook, which he turns into like the rage monster or whatever.
Yeah, and then he like cooks the monkey in the food.
Feeds everyone.
It causes everybody to get infected. I wonder if Balaguero directed this one. I wonder if he saw Brain Dead, the Peter Jackson movie.
Oh, yeah.
From the early 90s, because in that film, the virus is spread by something called the Sumatran rat monkey.
Oh, there you go.
And I wonder if they're doing that. Also, monkeys transmit the virus, I think, in 28 Days Later, if I remember.
That's probably got a couple of the other
So I think there's a couple zombie movies where a monkey is the cause of the virus.
Yeah.
So it could be that they're trying to do here. The monkey looks freaking terrible.
Yeah.
It's like the worst CGI you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where the monkey has CGI at points, and then it like turns like practical, and it like goes
when it's
back
moving around the room, it looks awful.
Yeah, it looks horrible.
And then when it's like on the guy, it's a practical effect, and it doesn't look that bad. They've done that before. Like that was a big thing in the 90s, especially. I mean, this is 2014, but that reminds me of like the movie Species back in the 90s, because it's like that, where Natasha Henstridge is the main character in that, and she's like a weird alien hybrid thing.
Yeah.
And when she's just standing around towards the end, when she's fully transformed, she looks really good. But then when they have her moving all over the place really quick, it's like the worst CGI you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
It's like Power Rangers the movie level of CGI. And
there
it's like, because they could make a really cool practical effect, but they couldn't make a practical effect move quickly.
Yeah.
It's
to make it look good.
Right. It's going to look cool if it's just standing around or like moving slowly.
Yeah.
But if you need it to rapidly like jump from wall to wall or something, they have to use CG. And it just looks bad. And that's what's going on here. Although I got to say, there is a part where like 100 monkeys are chasing them. In a vent, and they take like a boat propeller and just shove it up into the vent.
Yeah, and they just run into it.
Like run right into the boat propeller.
Like, run into this.
It's ridiculous. But this one tends to run into more of like just a generic action movie on a boat.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, the host monster. I guess does a monster even like control these zombies anymore? I don't think it does at this point, because it's like. Because, like, we talked about in the second movie where it goes to another host to try to, like, survive.
Yeah.
So it tries to go to the other host, and I guess it's, like, major spoilers in this. But
yeah. It's like, I don't know. This is going to make it sound worse than it is, but it's starting to remind me of Speed 2 with zombies.
Yeah, it's... Because you have, like, the very end is, like, they escape or whatever, the boat explodes or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, it is a little bit...
It's one of those... It would fit right in 1989 when they had all those underwater horror movies.
Yeah.
Or Deep Rising. That's another film I actually really like from the 90s. That was directed by the dude that did The Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
Oh, there you go.
But he made Deep Rising, and that was a film that was like this, where it was like a monster on a boat.
Yeah.
And it was kind of similar to that. It doesn't feel anything like Rec 1 or 2, or even 3.
Yeah.
People that say Rec 3 betrays the overall franchise.
Yeah.
This, I think, betrays it more than Rec 3 did, because at least Rec 3 maintained the religious aspect of the zombies.
This one does not have it. Like I said, this one, with this not having it at all, it's like, it's just generic. This feels more generic than the other ones.
Yeah.
This, I think so, but...
There is some cool elements here, though, where there's like one part where they discover that she's been infected by the worm or whatever because they have footage. They run the tape from the military mission
the
in
one
the second
like
movie.
guy is like in love with her or something.
Yeah.
It's like he watches all her videos and like trying to watch her like.
Yeah, he's like trying to watch her on dressing room or something.
Yeah,
the guy's getting canceled.
Yeah, the guy that gets canceled.
But anyway, but they find out that she got infected, and they go to try to remove the parasite, and they're just gonna like cut her open without any anesthetic or anything. And then you find out later that the virus actually, or the parasite actually transferred from her to the other guy, so it's not even in her anyway.
And that, like I said, that was going back to the thing where it's trying to go to another host that thinks it can survive better. Yeah. Which they think that surviving with the other guy probably the better, because he's like a military guy. Right. So. Plus,
it's more or less figures out it's been found out if it's in the same body for too long. Yeah. So, anyway, basically, the two main characters make it out pretty much at the end. Yeah. So, it's fine. But it's alright. It's kind of just a generic action thing. Yeah. I think it's the weakest of the four.
I do agree with that as well.
But it's not terrible.
No, it's not terrible. Like I say, it's like when we say it's the weakest, it doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah, it's just... My personal ranking of the Spanish films is literally like the order they came out. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, pretty much.
Although some days I like 2 better than 1.
Yeah, because 1 and 2 are so similar because they're like the same movie. Like, they literally are the same movies.
Right. Yeah, it is... Like I said, it's very much Alien versus Aliens. Yeah. It's that same idea of, like, do you like the straight horror movie or do you like the horror action movie? Yeah. And then this movie is pure horror action, but more action than horror. Yeah. And then 3 was like a bit of a comedy.
That's comedy horror with, like, stylistic comedy horror.
Yeah. But it's still, I'd say, still leans more into the horror than the comedy. It just it's like a dark comedy. Alright, so that covers the Spanish end of things, so that takes us to...
The American one, with John Erick Dowdle.
Yes. So, Quarantine. Let me pull up some Quarantine information here. Here we go. So, this one stars Jennifer Carpenter, who, to my knowledge, is not related to John Carpenter in any way, but does do a lot of horror projects. So... this one, she plays Angela.
Yeah, who's the...
same person.
She's the reporter.
Yeah, which it's even the same name.
Actually, the scene here is actually from the first movie, and from both of them. Is like
from both. Yeah, it's literally the final scene of the movie.
Yeah, the cover that's on there.
Is the poster. Yeah. Like, okay. So, this one says it follows a reporter and her cameraman assigned to a pair of Los Angeles firemen who follow a distress call to an apartment building where they discover a deadly mutated strain of rabies spreading among the building's occupants. Escape becomes impossible once the government descends upon the building to prevent the virus from spreading beyond it, and the pair continues to record the events that unfold inside, of which the film itself is the result. Features no musical score, only sound effects, differs in its characters, dialogue, and explanation of the virus from its source material. Yeah. So, basically the same exact movie as Rec 1.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. Exception they extended out, like, the special scene where they're at the fire department.
The stupid scene at the beginning where they're at the fire department goes on like 3 times longer.
Yeah, and then everyone's just getting canceled because they're just making sexual jokes.
That one guy looks like Waluigi.
Yeah, Waluigi's like in the shower and he's just
Dirty Luigi. Yeah, is like just hitting on her constantly.
Yeah, and he's like naked.
Yeah, and then there's the other guy, and she's like hitting on some other guy. It's just everybody's just hitting on everybody.
It's Quarantine, the canceled show.
Yeah, the Dirty Luigi's getting canceled for sure.
Everyone's just canceling.
But, yeah, this one, it's still not bad. Yeah. Like, if you never saw Rec, you'd probably think this movie's fantastic.
Yeah, if you don't like reading subtitles, you can watch this.
Yeah, if you hate reading.
Yeah, if you hate reading, you can watch this movie, because it's actually the same movie.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same movie. It's not exactly the same movie, but it's essentially a scene-for-scene remake, and then they just enhanced a couple stuff.
Yeah, because there's a couple things that are different. Like, this movie, they have the rabies instead of the religious, like, demon possession. Yeah. And also the scientist at the very end isn't, or it's not really a scientist. I guess it is a scientist, but
he's like a weird cultist.
Yeah, because the first movie, it was like the Vatican priest was doing the experiments or whatever. Yeah. In this movie, it's like it's like a doomsday cult guy. They want to like destroy the world. That's what their whole goal is.
Right, pretty much.
Using a virus that was created, or like using this rabies virus that they created.
And then, so anyway, the movie's basically the same, except for the part at the beginning goes on way longer.
Yeah.
Than it needs to.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple parts in the middle that are much more intense, like chase sequences that weren't in the Wreck film. And then the ending they get to is the same exact thing.
Yeah.
A weird monster lady shows up, just like in the original, but she looks way worse.
Yeah.
Like, this one is really bad looking compared to the Spanish one.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's the same thing. She gets dragged off, they spoil it in the poster, so...
Yeah, she gets dragged off, and that's the final scene of the movie.
That's the final scene of the movie, which is exactly where Wreck 1 ends.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not bad. Like, if I dock points for being the same, like a scene-for-scene remake, I'm really not a fan of exact duplicates. Especially one like this that came out like mere months after the original.
Yeah.
They rushed this thing into production. Because, like, I think the original film came out in 2007. And this came out in 2008. So,
yeah, they literally got that thing out of there.
Somebody must have watched the original film at, like, a film festival. And then they just, like, copied everything.
They were like, you were hearing this new sound? Hear this.
There you go. Get a load of this.
And it's like, I'm all hearing is sound effects.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
There's no audio.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so it's like they must have just contacted Balaguero and Plaza and just sort of like, send me your homework or whatever.
Do you like money?
They literally just copied their homework. They got the script and just copied it.
Yeah, pretty much.
So this one, I always hate movies that are exact remakes.
Yeah, especially. It does a little bit different things, but it's pretty much the same.
It's pretty much the same. If you've never seen Wreck 1, you'd probably love this, though.
Yeah, because it was good. It's to say it wasn't.
Yeah, it's good. I would say, if you're being fair, where does this rank in the other one? I would put this after, like, Wreck 2. Probably be like, Wreck 1, Wreck 2 are, like, same. And then Quarantine.
And then 3.
Then 3 and 4.
4.
And then we take our final...
Then we go to the one that I would say is not good.
Quarantine 2, The Terminal.
Out of all of these, if I were to say something's bad, this is the one I would say they're bad.
Yeah.
Because it's not the best movie in the world.
I would agree with this. I don't hate it.
Yeah.
But it's not great.
No. This one, if you want to say the one, I know because I've seen, like, some of the reviews were saying Wreck 3 was a sci-fi original. Do you want to see a sci-fi original? Look at Quarantine 2.
Yeah, this one is essentially one step above a sci-fi original.
Yeah.
Was this released in theaters?
Probably not. Let me see here.
I feel like...
I don't think it was.
I feel like it feels... I think it was released in theaters.
Oh, gosh.
This feels like a made-for-video.
Yeah, thing. It looks... Even the poster looks like some sort of made-for-TV movie.
Yeah, it looks like a direct-to-DVD thing.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. It's like watching, like... What is it? Simon Slays or something. It's like... It shows, like, some guy, like, trying to cut someone.
Yeah.
That's literally what this is.
So this was directed by John Pogue.
So it's not even the same guy.
No, it's a different guy. It's written and directed by John Pogue, produced by Mark Breenstock. I don't know who it is. Stars Mercedes Mason, Josh Cook, and Maddie Liptak. All extraordinary actors, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Who starred in nothing after this.
Yeah.
As passengers on an airplane where the mutant rabies virus from the previous film is now spreading, forcing the plane to make an emergency landing at a terminal that is promptly surrounded by the government, trapping the passengers and crew as they search for answers and a means of escape. So, as the film suggests, it takes place mostly in an airport.
Yeah, it's like an empty airport hangar.
They are on a plane to start with, and then they end up landing because the outbreak happens.
Yeah,
and end up landing.
Which that is a kind of an interesting concept, being on a plane and getting attacked.
It very much felt like snakes on a plane.
Yeah, it had that vibe. Because literally the first scene is like to knock the guy out, like the raid zombie guy out, because they have like morphine or something. I don't know what they have. That's like some sort of like tranquilizer on the plane.
So this one guy who claims he's a teacher, a high school teacher, has a bunch of rats on board.
He says they're hamsters.
He says they're hamsters, but they're rats.
Yeah. And it bites the other guy that's like hitting on everyone.
Yeah, there's a fat guy that's just like hitting on everyone.
Yeah, and he brought his own seatbelt with him, I guess.
Because he can't fit in the normal seatbelt. It's got all the hallmarks of like a sci-fi original.
Yeah.
This is a very generic horror movie, zombie movie.
Yeah.
Run-of-the-mill zombie thing. There's some hilarious, like unintentionally hilarious moments.
Yeah, like the one guy just like vomits on the one lady.
Yeah, there's that. There's a scene later in the movie. There's this guy that's like paralyzed.
Yeah.
And a rat shows up. It's like up on the like rafters or something above.
Yeah.
And it just drops right on the dude's head. It just plops right on his head and then immediately like sinks its teeth into him like a vampire rat.
Yeah, bites his head.
And it's so stupid. Like that was the scene we had to replay because I was like laughing hysterically.
At least the good thing it cured his like Parkinson's or something.
It cured his disease, made him like super powered.
Yeah.
For a second. But
and then you had like the very first scene. You have like the two Europeans just like doing it on the plane.
They're like in the Mile High Club,
but they're like in their seats.
They don't even bother going to the bathroom.
They're like whatever, just giving a blowjob on the plane. Somehow.
Yeah, that was Nika and Vorst.
Yeah, Vorst and Nika.
They're just Europeans. I don't even think they're supposed to be like from any particular country.
Just Europeans.
It's just I think it just says speaking European or something.
Yeah.
In the subtitles. It is real weird.
Yeah.
Like, it's very generic, very forgettable.
And then you have the guy, like, the Doomsday Cult guy.
Yeah, it's the high school teacher.
Yeah, he literally... There is a scene where he, like, pokes himself in the eye. It looks really weird.
Oh, my God. Like, yeah, he decides to inject himself with what he thinks is, like, some kind of vaccine.
Yeah, because, like, we have the vaccine. We're going to kill the world, but we have the vaccine.
We have the vaccine, so we'll be protected. And then he injects himself right in the eyeball.
Yeah, right in, like, the subjunctival sac, which is, like, the part underneath the eye.
Like that part right underneath your eye. Like, that's what he injects. What? Like, what antibody, antivirus, like, vaccine, what do you... Any of those things do you inject directly into your eyeball?
Yeah, I know. Like, instead of just putting in your arm, you gotta put in your eye.
It's like, why did they do that? It's like they specifically made it for people that are, like, squeamish about eye injuries or something.
Yeah. It's like, that was unnecessary.
And then the idiot turns into a monster.
Yeah, anyway. A zombie anyways. He's like, oh, yeah! He's
like a super zombie.
Then he dies, and he's like, just dies.
Yeah.
It's like, great.
It's real weird. And then at the very end of the movie, like a cat or some crap that's infected gets out into Vegas.
Yeah, and then he goes like, basically the kid, like, it follows the kid at the end. Like, the kid goes out with the one stewardess.
Yeah.
And they're going through the pipe, but the stewardess was bit, so he's like, you gotta leave. And then eventually, and then he, like, puts his head into, like, the drainage pipe, but he's like, where are you?
Yeah, and then she attacks him, but
even though he said that he was like, I'm dying, get out of here. And he's like, where are you?
Get out, you stupid idiot.
Get out, you stupid idiot. But then he almost dies, but he's like in Vegas. But the Vegas scene looks like the worst CGI background in the world. So it's like
2011 CG.
Yeah, it looks pretty bad. Yeah. And then they do it a couple times, because even on the plane, the guy, like, looks through the window. And it just looks really bad. It looks like maybe like, what's that movie from Stephen King's movie, like Tommyknockers? It's like the one where they're in a plane, Critters or whatever that thing's called.
Yeah, Tommyknockers, I think.
Yeah, where it's like the monsters are eating the timeline or something, and they're like stuck. It kind of has like that weird CG look from that. It reminded me of that. I don't know why, but
yeah, like I said, it's one step above a sci-fi original.
Yeah, and it's like, out of all these ones, Quarantine 2 is definitely the worst one.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't have a place.
Yeah.
It is a horror movie that's like unintentionally funny at times. It falls into the so bad it's good territory from time to time.
Yeah, and I do like while they're in like a hangar. It is a little bit of a different thing. It's like, oh, if you're in a hangar and just by yourself. Yeah,
it shows a bunch of stuff like in an airport that you normally wouldn't see.
You're in like they're like majority in like the baggage claim place, like the hangars area. And like crawling in between like the baggage claim. Like, there's one scene where they're Like literally, she's like running in a circle. It was like almost like a Benny Hill thing.
Oh yeah.
He's like chasing after her through like the baggage claim.
Like the conveyor belt, and they're just like running around in a circle.
I forgot how they got past it, but he did something, and then
it was like you should have had the Benny Hill theme.
Yeah, it's like okay.
Yeah, it like I said, it's unintentionally hilarious at times, but not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's not the worst movie in the world, but it is definitely, out of all the quarantine and wreck movies, is definitely the worst.
Yeah, it's the worst of these films.
Yeah.
So anyway, our ranking would be probably Wreck 1 and 2 are fairly close.
And Quarantine,
especially if you've never seen Wreck 1. Wreck 3.
Wreck 3.
Wreck 4.
Then Quarantine 2.
And then Quarantine Terminal.
Yeah.
So that's going to do it for our breakdown of the Wreck franchise. So if you've seen these movies, let us know what you thought of them in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up if you liked the video. Consider subscribing for more like this in the future. And you too can feel the strong dwelling within. See ya.